the Xavier University Television Studio. This is Xavier News.
Good afternoon, Musketeers. I'm Alex Kay.
And I'm Kristen Gallagher. This is Xavier News.
The United Nations Security Council voted unanimously on Thursday to invoke tough new sanctions on North Korea in retaliation against the nation's nuclear weapons program. The vote came only hours after North Korea threatened a preemptive attack on the United States, as the U.S. has begun joint military ventures with South Korea. North Korea has suggested it might end the armistice that halted the Korean War in 1953 without a peace treaty.
Cincinnati's Horseshoe Casino opened on Monday night, drawing in nearly 10,000 customers for the grand opening. While revenues have not been released yet, officials say the casino's preview night back in February, which brought in nearly 6,000 people, raked in almost $270,000. Cincinnati's casino is the last of 4 voter-approved casinos to open in Ohio in the past year. Gross casino revenues will be taxed at a rate of 33%, one of the highest rates in the nation.
With spring break still fresh in students' minds, Jack Vandertal took the opportunity to interview Xavier students about their experiences with the alternative break program. Here's the story.
Students are back on campus from a week off from spring break, and some have returned with rare experiences to share. For the some who did not go home over spring break, they chose to go on alternative breaks. Xavier University sponsored organized trips to locations across the country, with the philosophy to better establish the students' relationship with the worldwide community.
Oh, good catch. I didn't see that.
Senior Kaylin Barnett of the Center for Mission and Identity spoke of her experience on her AV trip.
For alternative breaks, I went to Catalina Island, California, to study conservation of native ecosystems. So while there, we were able to do some beach cleanups, trail maintenance, and the big part of our trip was removing invasive species.
Junior Kristen Gallagher also spoke with us, describing her trip.
I went to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. It's located in Shannon County, which is actually the poorest county in the United States. A lot of what we did was educational, people on the reservation teaching us about our culture and about the issues on the reservation.
For the students, new experiences brought forth resonating memories.
The favorite part about AV was definitely just getting to know everyone else in the group. Before I went, we had weekly meetings with everyone, but I didn't really know anyone who I was with. So just being able to be in a different place and really bond with those people.
One of my favorite things about the alternative breaks trip was the time set aside for reflection. And so every night we gathered as a large group and talked about that day's events and what it meant to us in our lives personally, but also what it means to our world as a whole. It was a great time to put what we had seen and experienced and learned into a more realistic setting for us in our everyday lives.
It was just a really great trip because it was a new experience I've never had before. And it's a combination of feeling like you really did something on your break and being able to meet new people and making new connections of that break.
And this is Jack Vandertal for Xavier News.
Thanks, Jack. Seeking to define its future as an institution, Xavier University has announced plans to open a new college of entrepreneurship and innovation. In addition, the university will also embark on a new capital campaign, aiming to raise as much as $140 million to fund endowment and new building projects. The school has built up a debt of nearly $200 million, expanding the campus over the past 5 years.
Imagination's running wild this weekend at the Cincinnati Museum Center. The Learning Through the Play exhibit has captured the interest of children and adults alike, and Brandon Hall has all the details. Brandon?
The Cincinnati Museum Center is known for its ability to captivate its visitors with its grand exhibits for both children and adults. Well, today, the museum once again enthralls guests, but this time with its Learning Through Play conference. We were able to sit down with exhibit director Tony Lawson to learn more about this unique conference.
A Learning Through Play is the signature event at Cincinnati Museum Center and Duke Energy Children's Museum. It's a one-day conference where we work with parents and educators as well as families, teaching them about the importance of play in a child's development.
And while parents and children have the opportunity to engross themselves in all of the various information vendors had to provide them, both parents and children were given the amazing chance to have fun together, to be entertained, and most importantly, to learn.
But the part of our conference which is really unique, and I think we're the only museum who does this is a conference where you can bring your kids. We have these great what we call family interactive sessions where the kids might be creating artwork or watching the Children's Theater of Cincinnati. They're going to be learning, developing great skills. Their adults are going to see them developing and learning, and then they're going to be able to take ideas home with them on how they can continue that learning at home.
This conference speaks volumes on the value of teaching not only children, but also parents on the value of educating their children. With the tools provided by this conference, parents can proudly walk away with new educational and behavioral exercises to use in educating their child. And while parents are learning, children are at play, and most importantly, will be able to walk away having had the time of their lives. For Xavier News, this is Brandon Hall.
Thanks, Brandon. Josh Welch, a second grader at Baltimore's Park Elementary School, was suspended for 2 days for chewing a pastry into a shape that resembled a gun. Welch reportedly was trying to shape the pastry into a mountain, but it ended up looking something more like a weapon. Welch's father told the media that the suspension is ridiculous and that the school should focus its efforts on disciplining more relevant issues. Regardless of the decision, it's clear that school administrators across the country are on edge due to the recent tragedy at Sandy Hook.
Xavier is taking the initiative on finding students with leadership potential and turning them into the trailblazers of tomorrow. Griffin Ready is reporting.
Every week, the Emerging Leaders Initiative meets in the Gallagher Student Center. ELI is a program that helps first-year students develop leadership skills for both their time here at Xavier and in their careers. The group is led by Xavier upperclassmen who have gone through the program themselves. They explore leadership in relation to the individual and group through a variety of interactive activities and discussion. They also explore leadership styles, felicitation skills, and group dynamics through team-building initiatives and individual reflection. The group also helps first-year students make connections and friendships here at Xavier. So if you are a freshman wishing to hone your leadership potential, check out the Emerging Leaders Initiative, who meet on Monday nights. For Xavier News, I'm Griffin Ready.
Thanks, Griffin. Lorraine Bayless, an elderly resident of the Bakersfield, California retirement home Glenwood Gardens, died Monday after a staff member refused to perform CPR. Another resident called 911 after Bayless collapsed in the retirement home's dining hall, and the phone was handed to a staff member who identified herself as the nurse. The dispatcher told the so-called nurse to perform CPR while the medical team was en route, but she refused on the grounds that it would go against Bayless's wishes to die without life-prolonging intervention and against the company's policy of not providing actual medical care to clients. As there was no do not resuscitate order in Bayless's home, and the staff member was not a certified nurse, the case is still under investigation.
With Pope Benedict's resignation behind us, the whole world is watching and waiting to see what will happen next. Here's Gabe Weiss with the story.
Xavier students, the liturgical 6-week period of Lent is upon us. As a Catholic university, students are encouraged to use this time for self-reflection and prepare for the resurrection of Christ. During Lent, Catholics usually look towards the Pope for blessings or guidance. This year, however, is different. Pope Benedict XVI vacated his office Thursday, just 2 weeks after announcing his surprise resignation. He cited his age and health as reasons. He pledged unconditional obedience to whoever succeeds him to lead the world's 1.2 billion Catholics. Now the big question is, who will take over as the next pope, and what kind of leader will he be? We caught up with Father Matthew at the Jesuit residence on Xavier's campus and got his thoughts on the matter.
Doctrinally, it's difficult to say. Doctrines are not done by majority vote. and I really am not confident to speculate on what, if any, changes a new pope would think of there. And also to say that the Pope's role is not to innovate doctrine. The Pope's role is mostly to maintain. Jesus gave Jesus' charge, I think, to Peter is to maintain the faith.
Nothing is set yet, but inside sources from the Vatican are alluding to an election by mid-March, so the new Pope can be installed in the office before Palm Sunday on March 24th and lead Holy Week services.
Most of the important discussion is happening, starting Monday. And so really the discussions that are going to be happening is what direction does the church need to go, what is the pulse of the world, since you have cardinals from all over the world, from the Philippines, from Canada, from Argentina, from Hungary, from Ghana, from just everywhere. And so kind of trying to get a state of this worldwide institution, what do we most need in a leader, where is the Spirit leading us most?
Until then, the world must wait for the papal seat to be filled. And I'm Gabe Weiss for Xavier News.
Thanks, Gabe. What would you do if the store you worked in was being robbed? An employee at a Connecticut Dunkin Donuts decided he'd had enough of a would-be robber's antics and made the best of his resources, namely hot coffee. When a man attempted to climb through the drive-thru window after the employee refused to make change for his $100 bill, the employee grabbed some hot coffee that was sitting nearby and threw it in the would-be robber's face. If that won't wake you up, I don't know what will.
Well, that's all for today, Muskies. Here's Andrea Bizzoli bringing us the latest in Xavier sports.
Hello, Musketeer fans, and welcome to this week's Xavier Sports Report. I'm Andrea Bizzoli. It's been a big week for many of Xavier's teams, starting with men's basketball, who defeated its second-ranked opponent in 1 week. The Musketeers took on number 16 St. Louis at home on Wednesday, and it ended in an overtime thriller. Prior to tip-off, Coach Chris Mack, AD Mike Babinski, and President Father Graham recognized the senior members of the basketball program. Those honored included managers John Schroeder, Patrick Reagan, and Nick Browerman, and of course, senior players Jeff Robinson, Travis Taylor, and Brad Redford. The three seniors ended up combining for 39 points in the 77-66 win against the Billikens, with Travis Taylor scoring 19 points, nabbing a career-high 19 rebounds, and adding a career-high 6 blocks. Despite SLU erasing a 4-point deficit with 48 seconds left in the game to take it to overtime, Xavier held them to just one field goal in OT, allowing them to create their 11-point lead. The Musketeers will head to Indianapolis on Saturday to take on A10 foe Butler in their last regular season game. A win could guarantee Xavier a top 4 seed in the A10 tournament and a first-round bye. Switching gears to women's basketball, the squad is currently in Philly, getting ready to take on 10th-seeded Temple tonight in the beginning of the A10 tournament. The 7th-seeded Musketeers are currently riding a 6-game winning streak, while the Owls are in a 5-game slump. The two teams met during the regular season, with Xavier coming out on top in the 54-53 win. Xavier ranks first in the A10 in defensive rebounding percentage and second in defensive rebounds, with Temple coming in at third. The matchup begins at 5 p.m. Women's tennis has a busy month, beginning with 5 home matches against Massachusetts and IUPUI this weekend. The Musketeers are back in Cincinnati after spending spring break in Hawaii, falling in matches to both Hawaii and number 40 San Diego State. Despite the team losses, freshman Alex Brinker was able to pick up 2 more wins in the number 2 singles position, improving her winning streak to 9 matches. The Musketeers will face UMass and IUPUI on Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. The men's baseball team will not be in Cincinnati this weekend, but instead are heading to Middle Tennessee State for a weekend series beginning at 3 p.m. today. Xavier will be looking at Mark Elwell and Tyler Coors, who have both been playing well as of late. 3 wins would be helpful for the Musketeers, who are hovering at a mere 3-7 so far this season. Well, that's all the sports we have for you today. I'm Andrea Bizzoli. We'll see you next week.